some are dead and some are living. In my life, I've loved them all.
Spurred on by the phenomenal critical and commercial success of Paul's Yesterday, John may well have intended to set out to write a similarly worthy piece of work.
In my life was, I think, my first real major piece of work. Up till then it had all been sort of glib and throwaway. And that was the first time I consciously put my literary part of myself onto the lyric.
The Lennon and McCartney myth, as John would later refer to it, was given further momentum only a few weeks after the recording of In My Life, thanks to a TV show which was devoted solely to the compositions of Lennon and McCartney. For the very first time, John wrote the lyrics first, with no tune or melody in mind. The final lyrics are unmistakably John's, but they were a very long way removed from the original draft. This described a bus ride from John's childhood home in Menlove Avenue down to the docks, taking on its way a church, cinema, park, tramshed and railway. Here's the first somewhat rambling draft. Penny Lane is one I'm missing, up Church Road to the clock tower. In the circle of the Abbey I have seen some happy hours, past the tram sheds with no trams, on the 5 bus into town, past the Dutch and St. Columbus, to the dockers' umbrella that they pulled down. In the parks I spent some good times. Caldeston's was good for jumping. But if you want to really find me, really want to find me, all these places have their memories, some with loves or lives forgotten now, some it's to be with, some are dead and some are living. John soon realised these words were far too specific and ill-fitting to a song he intended to have universal resonance.
In My Life started out as a bus journey from my house in 251 Menlove Avenue to town, mentioning every place that I could remember. And it was ridiculous, but that's how I first said about, I thought, write about childhood, okay, I'll write about this, all the nice names like Strawberry Fields, Penny Lane, and this was before even Penny Lane was written. That I had Penny Lane, Strawberry Fields, tram sheds. Tram sheds are the depot just outside of Penny Lane. And it was the most boring sort of what I did on my holidays bus trip song, and it wasn't working at all. I thought, I cannot do this. It's not. And I wrote it all down like that, and it was such a boring thing. And then after going through that kind of thing, then I lay back and these lyrics started coming to me about the places I remember.
In My Life is one of the few Lennon-McCartney songs where John and Paul's memory differs as to who actually wrote the melody. Paul claims to have written all of the melody, whereas John cites Paul's contribution as being limited to the middle 8 and some of the harmony.
Now, Paul helped write the middle 8 melody to that, which is the lyrics were already there. The whole lyrics were already written before Paul even heard it. So, if that's correct quote from Paul saying, apart from In My Life, his contribution melodically was the harmony and the middle 8 itself, not the whole middle 8, but he contributed that. His input was with me there on the chord changes, going from D and it goes to F for the middle 8. And I think he probably did the why don't we go to F here business,
George Martin played a key role in shaping the song and performing the instrumental bridge. In My Life was one of the first Beatles songs to truly benefit from studio manipulation. George Martin could not play at the song's fast tempo, so he played his piano solo at half speed. Let's hear George's isolated piano solo. Now let's hear it sped up as it finally appeared on the recording. George Martin was a great admirer of In My Life, and he borrowed the title for his final album released in 1998, for which he also provided a new arrangement for a cover version by Sean Connery.
Some are dead and some are living. In my life, I've loved them all.
Whilst Paul's songs were frequently covered, it was less so the case with John's. However, In My Life would go on to be John's most covered Beatles track and form an important part of their transitionary Rubber Soul album.
There was a period when I thought, I don't write melodies, I just write rock, straight shouting rock and roll. Paul wrote melodies and I didn't. But of course, when I go back in my own song things to In My Life, or I can't think of some early attempts at melodies, This Boy, or any sort of early Beatles stuff. Of course I was writing melodic music in quotes with the best of them.